My research is situated in a concept, a Mi'kmaq concept called MAWIKINUTIMATIMK. And MAWIKINUTIMATIMK means coming together to learn together. So when I was getting ready to do my doctoral work, I'd been teaching in Waigama for 10 years, and I was pretty sad to be leaving. But I knew that if I went and did my doctoral work, that I could do work that the community really wanted me to do. And so, but I knew that I didn't want to bring a Western research methodology into the community. In fact, what I wanted to do was bring a community research methodology into the university. So that's what I did. I went around and I said to elders, I said, what's a word that would describe a process of like bringing people together to talk about an issue or to try and solve a problem? I got a few different words, but the one that kept coming up over and over again was MAWIKINUTIMATIMK. And it was funny because all the elders I spoke with would say, but you should go ask Phyllis, or you should go ask Tiny, or you should go ask John, or and so there was this sort of shared knowledge, like shared authority, I guess. But the word MAWIKINUTIMATIMK, it was given to me by the Grand Chief, the late Ben Syllaboy, and it has guided my work, but it's also guided everything I've done since then. So the idea behind MAWIKINUTIMATIMK is that everyone has something to learn and everyone has something to share. So when we come together in circle, I have knowledge, I have things that I've learned, I have stories I can share, but so does everyone else. And by sharing them and honoring everyone's knowledge, together we collectively generate new knowledge. And that's what I did for my doctoral work. I worked in 2 schools over the course of a year. I would help out in the schools during the day, and then I would talk to the teachers after school about what we're learning, what are the issues, what are we seeing. There were many elders that would come to those events. And so what happened was we generated a model. We generated a framework for decolonizing math, and it looks a little like this. So at the heart of this model is meaningful personal connections to mathematics. That's that identity and power stuff. Kids need to see themselves in the math that they're learning, and they need to see that it's relevant to who they are and who they want to be, right? So how is math helping them to be a better version of themselves? How is it connecting to who they are and how they learn? And so as we started to talk about this, these themes kept coming up over and over again. And one of the biggest themes was the need to learn from language. So the Mi'kmaq language, and every Indigenous language in Canada, is a verb-based language. So in Mi'kmaq, most things are in flux. They're moving, there's motion in the language. English really affords us lots of nouns. So we talk about things in English. In Mi'kmaq, we talk about processes, paths, ways to get there, ways to do things. So we're going to talk a lot about language this morning and how that verb-based nature of mathematics, verb-based nature of the language, made me realize I needed to teach mathematics in a very different way, through a very much more verb-based approach. You see, in math, we tend to nominalize things. We take processes and we turn them into nouns, right? We take the act of joining 2 things and we call it addition. Take the act of separating, we call it subtraction. Right? We take the slope of is the ratio of the change in the y value to the change in the x value, when it's really like, hey, how's that line going up? Right? So these things that we do in mathematics, we tend to name things. Real mathematicians don't do that. They actually work in verbs, and when they figure it out, they name it. But the way we teach it, we work with a lot of nouns and heavy, dense noun clauses, and so we're going to unpack that a bit this morning. Another big thing was this whole piece around values, and sort of how mathematics does have these values embedded in it that often bump up against Indigenous values, and how there are often conflicts that create tensions for students. We're going to talk particularly about the value of spatial reasoning. The elders that I worked with, whenever I would ask a how much or how many question, they would just say debiach. Oh, debiach. Oh, debiach. Oh, debiach. Debiach just means enough. And it was always accompanied by a spatial gesture. And so we're going to talk about why spatial reasoning is so important, and how we bring spatial reasoning into our math class. And I know a lot of you have probably done some spatial reasoning around geometry, but what we're going to talk about today is bringing spatial reasoning into aspects of quantity and operation. The other piece is these ways of knowing, which are influenced by the values in the language, and it all kind of works into these pedagogical strategies.